So I am your host, Mr. David Ruano. I am art curator here at Rizo Corp, as well as creator and co-founder of Los Ruano Gallery and the LA Artist Podcast, where this artist chat will be posted after the fact in video format and in audio in all major platforms. And with that in mind, I want to introduce the artists. We'll start off with Darryl. Darryl, he has been doing this for about 30 plus years in a impressionistic style that captures the power and the resilience of his subjects. And by not using brushes, only using his hands, he creates a fast, physical, instinctive process with no barriers between him and the canvas. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
We also have Ivan, who's a contemporary painter, sculptor, and curator whose work serves as a vibrant visual sanctuary for emotional resilience, trauma recovery, and a radical acceptance of the human imperfection. Welcome, welcome, Ivan. And then we have Kalyn, welcome. And she takes zeal in echoing life's uplifting and healing lessons in her work with an abstract symbolism style with the use of mixed media, acrylic, 3D textures, clay, plaster, and all sorts of amazing different mediums. Welcome, thank you for being here. And then Kiara, not least, an artist who grew up seeing art as a form of connecting with the inner self and learning ways to expand and acknowledge the contradictory in the human personalities, which is something that I was fascinated when you put that on your bio. And with that in mind, again, thank you everyone for being here, for being willing participants of this crazy artist chat. And today's topic will be the process of a work in progress, something that as artists, we always want to create art, but sometimes it's hard to figure out how to start, what's in the middle, and then how to finish it, which is going to be our topic for today. But before we start, would love to hear a little bit about yourselves. If you can tell us a little bit about your background, your style, or what makes your art unique. Would you like to start?
So currently I've just been balancing like school and work. A lot of times I just like to use my art as a sense of, for my mental health, or just a sense to connect or get a time for myself. It's my own like personal piece for myself. So I've been doing that for some years now, and I'm happy to start getting it around and getting it out there for other people to see.
That's awesome, yeah. Kalyn?
So for me, I've been into arts, since a kid, but it's been on and off. Recently, I just started doing nails on acrylic nails, and that's what really boosted my nail skill or my art skill. And then I started to implementing more art into canvases and building my own canvases myself. So it gave me the confidence to keep going, and yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, yeah. I didn't know that you did nails first before art.
Yeah.
I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, I used to do portraits on nails for a while, and then or abstract, and then I jumped into it.
I can do. Ivan?
I am a recent MFA grad from Cal State LA. I got my MFA 2 years ago. I've also been exhibiting at different venues for the last year or so. I also am currently a Hive Gallery resident artist. And yeah.
That's awesome, yeah. Congrats on the masters.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Oh, and also I mostly focus on Japanese surrealism with ukiyo-e and wabi-sabi influences.
I can dig that. Darryl?
Yes, I'm Darryl Suess. Been painting, like you said, over 30 years, 35 years. I started in the 1990s before they had internet and all that. So you couldn't really reach out as much as you can now. And it's, you can start a community like this. And when I started art, it was really to have an identity. It was work, go home. I was living sober, so it was work, go home. What am I doing? And I started sketching, and then later decided to get into color, and then developed my process, which I'm looking forward to talking about today. And So, I've been through the thick and the thin of art. I've been in a few galleries. I've done a few things. I've had my struggles with where I stopped doing art for a time being and then restarted. So, I've kind of been around the process a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, because like I think we've known each other through different art shows throughout the years. We never got a chance to talk through those shows as
You're
much.
so busy. You're busy running around. You're always busy.
But it's always great to even just get that insight for someone who's been doing it that long.
Yeah, no, it's and I love sharing about it. And you and me kind of went through those pancake and booze experiences where I learned how to communicate about my art. You know, so I didn't show for a long time. And then when you learn how to communicate about it, it really opens the doors to sales and the people and bring them in. So, so I'm always talking about that.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's why we created the Artist Chat.
Yeah, I couldn't wait. I saw the last one you did. That was amazing.
Yeah. And so with that in mind, again, thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. One of the main questions that I wanted to ask to start us off is, what does the process look like to each and every single one of you? Like when you want to start a new piece, like do you start with a blank canvas sketches, or do you first have to wake up, get your coffee, clean your little station, and then start? Is there a specific process that you do to start? Who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Honestly, the process, it differs for each painting. I don't know if that makes sense, but so sometimes I would go out on a walk or be around nature, and I start to get like a clarity of mind, and when that happens, or I'll get like a vision. Most of the time, it's like a eye-opening vision or a dream, or sometimes I will actually sketch out something that I have in mind, something that really speaks to me. I'll write it out in like verbally on my notes, and then I'll make an image of that in my sketchbook. And then throughout time, I'll kind of just start sketching it out, the outlines, and color blocking it until I feel aligned with it, with myself mentally and physically. And I don't really like to force the palette too much. Sometimes I just let it flow however it should spew out the way I desire. So.
I can dig that. I like that. Yeah, because like even just walking around like within nature, that can be part of the process of just finding inspiration or finding little things to be like, oh, I like that. And then like you said, with the color palette, like not forcing it, but go with the flow with it. Anybody else would like to?
Yeah, well, I have my little studio outside. It's a nice little overhang studio, but it's outside, and I am so disorganized as a person. So I let that be my art. I go in, I have a pile of paint on one side, the easel, and another pile of paint where I kind of clean it all up, and then I have a pile of paint that's all new paint if I need something new. So my process now is I'm finger painting. It's just to get color onto the canvas. So I almost do a whole piece of art, an abstract color, try to get that to work. And then comes the figure. And that can take a little bit. And, when I'm doing the color on the canvas, it's loosening me up. So, it's kind of like, when you sketch, you practice a little bit, get your hand all moving around. So I do that, and I'm in my little studio. I got my animals. I got my music, whatever music I'm choosing that day. And it's just about letting it go. Once I get that, and my process is pretty much threefold. I do the canvas, and then I do my figure. Then I live with the piece for a while. I'll bring it in the house. Then I take it back out. A lot of times people ask me, how long did it take to do a piece? And it's really about sessions, because I'll spend about 40 minutes, 50 minutes doing a solid piece. And I like to do a piece a day, like get a piece done. And then I live with it, and then it changes.
Yeah.
So, it's never going to, it's always going to be about 3 or 4 different processes. Or I can live in the garage for 2 years and I see it and bam, all of a sudden, hey, I got it, and now I know what I'm doing with this piece. So it's a loose base, but I try to do a piece a day. It doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to change it. It is. You're going to take the head off, or you're going to do something to it.
Yeah.
And the freedom I have now with my art is, it's open. I'm pretty much trust myself that something's going to go right, even when it goes wrong, So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
The starting stage of my work.
And I feel like that's part of the different ways that we can cope with a piece is like making sure that it's okay if it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Because you can always add to it or put it to the side.
Yeah,
and
when I
whatnot.
first started, I worried about, that piece don't look right, but that's part of it. It's part of the process. It's not good. And then all of a sudden, one day, you might have tried a technique you tried a week ago, and you go, that's going to work on this painting that I did a year ago.
Yeah.
You didn't come up with that technique, or you weren't using it at the time, and then it makes the piece better. I never close out. Even if I sign a piece, it's never done.
Yeah.
Until someone takes it from me.
then even at that, you'll sneak into their house and add
No,
to it.
I'll think about it when I see it again. I can change that. But yeah.
Kiara, you had a...
For my process, sometimes I like to set the mood. Sometimes I may like burn incense in my place, like to just get a calm mood going on, or just have something on, like maybe a movie or music. If there's a specific emotion I have in mind for a drawing, sometimes I'll like to play music that I feel resonates with the emotion I try to get across. I like discomfort in drawings. I do like a feeling of discomfort. So sometimes if that song has that in there, I would like to somehow put that or translate that emotion I'm feeling into the drawing. I like to have everything close in my space, have like my sharpeners and everything near me and everything. And I usually will start with colored pencils to get like a basic sketch down, and I'll work from there, my details, and I'll start to put in values from there.
I like that. Yeah, especially the music aspect of it, because I feel like I do the same thing. Depending on the music is how I feel and sometimes how fast I'm working. If it's something jazzy and relaxed, I might take a little longer. If it's something a little bit more rock, like, okay, cool, I'll focus and go faster. But yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. Ivan?
Yeah, so when I'm painting, I usually go into a trance. And for the most part, I become very detached to how I paint specifically. So because of, again, Wabi Sabi, I learned to separate my ego from perfectionism. So when I paint, I'm in this trance where I kind of stop caring about how the piece itself ends up looking. I try to let it play as it is. For example, the one here. And for the most part, it was something that I had to learn how to stop doing in grad school. That's like one of the biggest challenges, is that we tend to follow like certain academic molds. So in these past few years, I've been learning how to incorporate that in my process, is like by being able to push myself, but also completely let the piece speak for itself and just try to make something by working with it.
I like that. I can dig that.
Can
Yeah, go for
Can I
it.
add something?
Yeah.
Ivan mentioned something about separating the ego from their work, and I realized that I do the same thing. I try not to approach my canvas or any project it is with pride or with any worry or anxiety. I just kind of like push out the outside noise and just focus on what it is that I want to see, not necessarily what the buyer is going to want. But yeah, every process starts off with just a clearer peace of mind.
Yeah. I definitely do think that that's very important, because obviously the reason why we are painting is because we're trying to create something that's in us to put on canvas to let the world see, versus we're not painting because that person's going to buy it, So that's where separating ego from your work. goes very, very well. So that's really cool. Did you want to add something?
Yes, sorry. I was gonna also mention, typically I do have some form of ritual. So when I do paint, I sometimes get like this clairvoyance, and part of that I get a download or some kind of like vision too. And I also try to have lattes around. But yeah, I think definitely when I'm working, it's kind of like that state of mind where I learn to just let it flow, let it be, and be natural.
I like that. And then with that in mind, on how you're working, one of my next questions was going to be on how do you see a blank canvas?
So with that, for the most part, I either use like the basics, so I color block, or I kind of just get this feeling or this sense of like ebb and flow. So then I just kind of create this imagery through either that clairvoyance or just like how the piece is responding.
I like that. Yeah. And what about Darryl? Like when you see a white, pristine blank canvas, what goes through your mind?
I gotta get paint on that motherfucker. You know what I mean? It's like, I used to stare at the thing. Where am I gonna start? Right? Where is it gonna start? Now it's just get color on the thing, make it look nice, and then come back to it. And so it's just now I'm the most comfortable in the last 4 or 5 years with the blank canvas in front of me. And yeah, if I have a blank canvas, I just get color on it, and then I just work from there. Because part of my work is the color, and then the figure, and then I do the background again. So I don't really worry about what the color is to get it on there, because it's all going to change. Mm-hmm. And I know that going into it. Yeah. So it's just getting color on there, get all that white out of the way, and then just, get the feeling from there. And like they say, like music, it's like, if I need, like I like to paint emotional women a lot. And so I'll go to, Florence and the Machine or something like that, where her lyrics are very in depth about her troubles and things. And I'll use that as inspiration, or I'll go with some hard rock for the color when I'm doing the color. And so it all changes, but I do use music. I think, I would have loved to have been a musician, but I just don't have that talent, so it went to art, went to solo, work by myself, and then to like I said, getting into art was to open myself up and to meet people and to do things. And it's, so it's, after 30 years, I'm comfortable in my own skin. Yeah. And I wasn't when I started art, I really wasn't. So yeah. It's age and that, but, that's what I was working for. Yeah. Not so much to sell, not so much to be famous, but so much to calm myself, So,
yeah. And again, and that's one of the reasons why, I love chatting with you, because of that knowledge, that wisdom that you have throughout the years, where sometimes even when I'm talking to newer artists that they don't know how to start, or they don't know what to do, and over time,
have fun with it.
Especially
when you're new, don't worry about it, have fun with it. Yeah. You're gonna find your way.
Yeah.
It's I'd painted maybe 5 years. I'd had some good pieces, this and that. But, I struggled for years to figure out where I was going. I liked album covers, and I tried to do that. I really wasn't where I was at. And I tried different kind of things, and to where I am now, where it's more free-formed. It's not thought out. And then I'll push myself, say, I want to do something more of an angle on the woman. So I'll push myself in that regard. But I kind of know where I'm going now. And then if I need to change it up just because I've been doing the same thing for a little while, I play. And I figure out where then that's the finger painting aspect of it. I don't have to worry about a brush. I just grab a color.
And start.
And it's freeing that way. I used to feel so trapped. I have to do this or this way or that way. Since I made it my way, my own thing, because I'm heavily dyslexic, I'm heavily HD. So I had to come up with my own ways of learning how to do anything. Even when I was a butcher, I had to learn it my way.
Yeah.
You show it to me and then let me figure it out.
a little bit of Frank
Yeah,
Sinatra
yeah.
there. Yeah, I
Right.
can dig that.
Yeah.
And then and it also goes back onto having no ego. Just start. What about you, Karen? Like,
I really do feel what you're saying when it comes to like just wanting to get something done on canvas or get started in any way possible. So I like to start with like basic shapes. I'm still working on trying to not be as like rigid about it. There's still like that perfectionist to want to make things look exactly how it is in your mind, even though you know it's not going to come out that way. But I start with like basic shapes, and then I kind of work my way up from there, work from the values, and really try to get different colors on there and start just playing with the different colors. Like I'm very much like experiment, like use as many colors, use the whole box if you got to. Like very much into that.
And then, when you start doing that, you start playing, you start to see how things fall together.
Yeah.
The confidence just grows. And when you have that, when the confidence grows, it's just like almost anything is possible in your range.
Yeah.
You're not going to paint Mona Lisa or something like that if you haven't done that kind of thing. Yeah. But, in your range, you're going to find it. You're going to find your groove.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And again, that all goes with just seeing a blank canvas and attack it.
Yeah,
Put something on it.
Don't, you can stare at it, you sketch it out, you find out your own process. Me, it's just get color on that thing and then let it just make it come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even with that, once we add color to a blank canvas, there's always an ugly stage.
Yeah.
There's always an ugly stage of art where we don't know where to go to, or like we're trying to change it, but we can't figure out how to, or we'll just put it away.
Or where the idea comes from.
Yeah.
What's next with this idea?
Yeah. And with that in mind, has there been a couple pieces where you just set them aside and then something clicks and you go back to that? And like, how would you be able to overcome those doubts?
Well,
Ivan?
I was gonna say, for the most part, I think sometimes we have to take a breath, step away, and just really be mindful and be patient and aware of like our surroundings, but also playing with that idea of like, we can't rush things either. We have to sometimes let it go and just, again, release our ego and like pause. Because if we're moving too much, then we're doing too much.
I like that. I like where if we're doing too much, we're moving too much. And that's so true. And anybody else have a comment on that?
I pretty much the same thing. Like, I try not to force it too much, and I feel like that's what art should be. It should just flow the way that it's supposed to. I used to get intimidated by, like a blank canvas, but I like to think like the canvas is really singing out to you. Like they want you to figure, not they, but the canvas wants you to figure something out for it. Like if I see a blank canvas or just a blank project, I like to think that it's asking you to put something beautiful on it for it and figure out a good message or anything colorful, anything playful. When it gets to the ugly stage, I usually just step back the same way that I would before I even approached the canvas. I would do it all over again pretty much to see like what's missing or if I added too much. And thankfully, you can't really make any mistakes in art. So I like to believe that anything is fixable. I normally step away for at least a day and then I come back with fresh eyes or the next morning. Anything that I know I messed up on, I can fix it. So I trust my own skill.
I can dig that.
I'm not afraid of getting rid of it. If I'm painting this, I might be working on this thing for a couple days, and I call it the big paw. I just get paint all over that thing, and I whitewash, get rid of it, and start over. I mean, it's just that can happen, or I'll put it aside. I know if I'm going to live with it, an idea might come, or the color, I might have to change the color, but it'll come to me. But I'm not afraid of just, because a lot of my paintings are about 3 or 4 paintings thick, and I like that because the layering, you get to see the layering of it, and as thicker as it gets, the paint just looks better. So, yeah, I don't mind. I'll just, grab it. And I have paintings in my storage that when I go through them, they're 5, 6 years old, gone. I'll cover that thing up, So, I don't mind the big paw. And right now it's like, hey, I'll figure it out. If not, I'll get rid of it.
I like that. Yeah. I feel like that is one thing that, I'm glad somebody said it type of thing. Because sometimes we are so afraid to like, oh, I spent so much time on this piece. I don't like it. I'm going to just store it. I'm like, well, if you don't like it, just get rid of it. And then paint over it and do something else.
Because I'm not brush stroking. I'm not putting that much time into it. So I just kind of like that and then, start over again. And a lot of times it works that way. Or I'll save just a small little part of that painting because I like that one little bit, but I don't like everything else. So I'll save that and then just, work off that.
I can do that. Have you guys done anything like that where you have to just like get rid of it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh yeah. Just
Cover
trash
it with
it.
white. Sorry.
And so like even just with that in mind, like do you like just get rid of it straight out, right? Or do you pause before you get rid of it?
Like definitely I pause and I think about it. I'm like, am I being like over exaggerating? Should I try to fix this? But then I think about it and I'm like, okay, this could have just been practice. It could have just been something that I wasn't ready for yet, that I was trying to jump outside my comfort zone. But then, it's been times where I had paused, but then I was like, okay, I'm gonna just cover it with white and start over, do something else. Yeah.
I can do that. Ivan?
I feel like sometimes we just have to white it out. Or if like he said, sometimes we have to like use parts of it too and try to create something new with it. So it's kind of like a fusion.
I like that. I like it.
Yeah, a lot of times when I find myself in that ugly space, I'm thinking too much.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make this thing work too much.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you step back and you let it sit or go over that part of it, it will free you, And so it depends on your experience with that, what you're going to do with it. So it's a process. And I've always talked about, when I figured out my process, it's just trust the process when you're in that ugly stage. Trust whatever you're going to do is going to come out right.
Yeah, just trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Like you've done it long enough where it's like, if you're going to like it. And I feel like, again, at the end of the day, you're the one that has to like it, not anybody else. Right? So if you don't like it, all right, work on it, put it aside, or start all over. I like that. And then, so with that in mind, now that we're kind of like past the ugly stage, we're either starting over or we found a way to take a breath, go back, tweak it, make it better. Are there any support systems that you guys have as far as like, do you show it to friends and family to see what they think or other artists? Or is it just you by yourself staring at it, hoping or trying to figure out how to go to the finished process?
Sometimes I'm showing it to like different people and asking like, what do you think about it? Does it look okay? Or sometimes I like to if it's just me by myself, I'll take a picture and I'll flip it, like to see if the proportions are right and if there's anything wrong. I'll check the mirror, I'll check different camera angles, or I can ask somebody if I don't know what color I'm trying to use next. So it depends. Like it can be a mix of both for the same drawing sometimes.
I can do that. Ivan, do you?
I personally tried to reach out to some of my old studio mates, specifically Danny. Sometimes I try to catch up with people, or I'll try to find ways to like have somebody to talk to or reach out to like a group of people. I think part of my process too is like, and how I make work too is by creating these special bonds that we have and part of that kizuna. So then that also is like how I tend to have these ties towards people.
I can dig that. What about Darryl?
Well, when I first started, now I can use the internet and have that. When I first started, the only people you had to show your work was my sister or a friend, and So you didn't really know how to get out there. And then when you had to get pictures, you had to get a photographer or somebody who knew what they were doing, take the pictures, and then you carried a book around showing people, you know. So that's kind of changed. You know, now I can take pictures and post it and that. But yeah, it was very early on. Family and friends were kind of important. My male friends didn't really care about my art. You know, we were into other things. So, but yeah, the support of my sister and then my wife that's there now, she supports me all the way through the art. So, and doing these kinds of shows and doing that, if I didn't have support, I wouldn't be out here doing that. Yeah. So, yeah, but it's a lot easier now with you take a picture with your phone, post it the same minute, you know? So, yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very, very happy now that we got this. But, yeah, early on, I needed my family to support me. And I was doing okay stuff. They would, yeah, encourage me, keep going, keep going, you know? And so, yeah, you know, and
I like that. Yeah, because like family, you know, sometimes they're our biggest critics because they've seen it from start to finish. So, and because I do something similar, like my parents, they're also very creative, but in different fields.
okay.
So when I show them something, they're like that they can see it in a creative way, but not in the exact same perspective that I'm looking through it.
Right.
So that gives me a different perspective from somebody else that doesn't know how it got done. They just see the final product. It's kind of like a magic trick. They don't know how the trick is done, but they either like it or they don't like it.
Right, right. But at least you have somebody you can bounce it off of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the thing, you know, now that we have the TikTok and all that, so I'm always getting feedback now. But then, you know, I can paint, be in my, you know, go to work, paint. No one see anything that I'm doing for months, you know.
Yeah.
So, but now it's, you know, my sister would come by, and I couldn't wait for Christmas to get some paints, you know, so because you needed support, you know. So now, you know, I have a wife, and then she's out there. She's looking. She tries not to get too involved in the painting. She looks at it, and she'll, you know, yeah, okay, I see it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Kalyn, what about you?
So normally if I'm stuck on a painting, I would take a picture of it. And then while I'm at work or anywhere else, I would go in my sketchbook and then I would import the picture on my sketchbook on my phone and just kind of like play around with it, whatever I can add, whatever details, features, background, colors. Because most of the time when it gets to that stage where I'm just kind of stuck, I don't want to push myself too much and then make it ugly all over again. So yeah, that or other times I would pray about it because, I mean, after all, like I'm not the one who came up with the idea by myself. So I would just, you know, ask like, what should go on this what should go on this piece? And yeah, just play around with it. That's it.
I like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it is one of those things where, you know, it's coming out of us.
Yeah.
Like we don't know exactly why we do what we do. We don't know exactly why we think the way we think. But, you know, having help, whether it be from family members or praying or like that gives us that extra boost to keep going. I like that. I like it. Yeah, and with that in mind, one of the questions that I had sent to you guys is to share like a story that you have about a specific piece and like kind of tell us a little bit about that process, something that made you either doubt yourself and how you were able to overcome that, or a piece that was flawless from the start to the beginning. Anybody have a story they would like to share? Ivan?
Yes, so when I was finishing my MFA, on my last year, I actually had created an entire series of these paintings, and this was during a time where I was grieving. So these pieces in particular were the ones that I showed for my thesis exhibition, and personally, those are the ones that were the deepest, but also the most strongest in all of my grad school portfolio. And so it was a very, very deep experience as well. And I think for the most part, that's also how it saved me from all of that.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, you have to go. Sometimes we have to live through it, and then meet on the other side. I like that. Anybody else have a story that they'd like to share about a particular piece that they enjoyed painting?
So there's like one of the ones here that's called like Kakihara. It was from like this movie Ichi the Killer. And it was like when I first drew it, I was liking the sketch, but I also at the time wasn't as confident when I would start coloring because I was trying to use oil pastels and I wasn't as experienced with using that medium. And so it's like once I started, I was starting to lose my confidence in like making sure the drawing how it came out originally was still going to translate the same way when I was coloring. And so for a while, I just left it alone because I thought I couldn't repair it. I thought I didn't have the skill to go back to it at all. And then sometime later, I think it may have been like a year or two later when I got more familiar with oil pastels, I did it again and decided to color over it. And it ended up surprising me, like how much I came out at the end of it, like thinking so much better of my skill, so much better using oil pastels. So it was one of those where once I got through that part, that hump, I felt a lot more better about what I could do with that medium.
I like that. Yeah. And again, it's just trusting the process and making sure you continue, not stop and forget about it, but continue on. I like that.
Well, my story was more or less is when I started working. I'd work every day, and I did it for about 10 years. And I got, like I said, I was sober and that. But I started drinking again, and I started partying. And what happened is the process that I built, I lost. Because a lot of that was emotional based. Now I'm covering up my emotions with the alcohol, and I lost it. And then I wasn't painting for about 5 years. I hit rock bottom. And then when I came back to it, realizing how much I loved art, and I redid everything. That's when I got into the finger painting. That's when I changed everything, the new space I worked in, how I worked, and appreciated more, and then started to show. So when I lost the original process and then I had to rebuild it, was where I found the growth, And so that's my little story about that.
No, and I feel like that goes to even something that you had mentioned before, talking about if there's an ugly stage, start over and just add paint to it. So I feel like even in life, you kind of did that. You
realized how much you love what you did, and you had to get back to it. And I had to change everything to get back to it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So for me, I like to alter my work because I like to consider myself really good at color mixing and color matching. So if I have a painting that is not really composition or positioned the way it's supposed to be, I like to kind of move it over by just like adding the color, like the background color or whatever I can to make it look the way that I need to. If it's not going according, I would step back and just, again, do the whole sketchbook thing again and re-alter it and step back forward. But yeah, there was one painting that I did. It was a self-portrait of myself. And I was struggling with it a little bit because I made the lady, like her shoulders were too high up. So I kind of just brought it back down low and then just fixed everything back up. And even just building that from start to finish, including the frame as well. That was my first time doing a frame, and that was really difficult. I had some trials and errors, but it was worth it in the end. And I would do it again.
I like that. Yeah. No, thank you guys for sharing those stories. It goes to show that, we all go through similar processes where there's a little bit of an ugly stage or a little bit of a dip. But if you keep going, there's a good light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then we do want to open it up to any questions from the audience, if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask. No, it's all right if no questions right now. Because my next question to kind of, if anything, because we can also chat after this, to kind of round out today's topic, again, the process is something that it's always a work in progress. And as artists, whether we've been doing it for 30 years or we're new to the game or we're somewhere in the middle, we're always trying to learn new things, hopefully. Again, no ego. We're always trying to learn, but also it's always good to like give others advice, from things that you've learned. That's kind of been one of my philosophies. Knowledge is not mine to keep, share it. And with that in mind, do you guys have any advice that you've received, whether it be even just from the conversation here or had conversations with other family members, professors, other coworkers, that you would give someone that's just starting out as an artist? Ivan?
I think definitely one of the biggest lessons I learned was be yourself, paint who you are, and never lose that part of yourself that makes you special. I think everybody has a different quality that they all can use and paint. And I feel that that's something that I had to learn too.
I like that. Yeah, I like that, especially because in this industry, we're always told like, oh, you should paint that, or oh, you should do this, right? Am I right? So like, never lose who you are. I like that a lot.
That's very important.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to say too, because like that's something that I recently got told was that, or somebody had like made a comment about my work. So then I had told them like, if I become like you, then, I lose that part of myself. I'm here for a reason, and I got here by doing what I love and who I was.
Yes, I like that a lot. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that for me to heart. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Anybody else?
Yeah, basically the same thing Ivan said. But I want to add, like, don't compare yourself to somebody else's journey, and also their skill set and their technique. Because art, there is no really a rule to art. There's no perfect way to do it. Everyone gets to where they are their way, and what inspires them. And I never been the type to really follow what like the masters say, like what school says, even though like they're good as well, but I kind of just did things myself. So, or however you got there, I would just say, just do it that way with confidence and don't be ashamed of it. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, because it's so true where like we can learn fundamentals from masters, from teachers.
Right, yeah.
But you still have to walk the walk.
Yeah.
You still have to do the artist journey.
Exactly, yeah.
I like
exactly.
that.
Thank
I like
you.
that a lot. Daryl, do you have?
Well, I liked what you had to say with that.
Thank you.
With me, it's about just don't take it so seriously, and find out what works for you. It all works differently for everybody else. And when you go to these kinds of shows, you see so much different kind of art, and everybody's these days are individuals. And if you could be more of you, more original your work will be. And so, because you are an original, and if you're trying to copy everything else, and that's what happens when you first start art, because that's what you're trying to do. But now it's just being yourself and learning how to do that, as Ivan said, and yeah, don't get in the way. Just kind of get your mind out of it when you need to.
I like that. I like that a lot. Kiara?
For me, I would say don't be afraid to break the rules. Like, even if you have a basic sense of education from how you came about drawing, don't be afraid to experiment. I would always say, like, experiment with color, play with different mediums, even if you learn that they're not supposed to be used. Just play with it and experiment on your own. And to not be afraid if you feel like your drawing doesn't have a specific message or doesn't have any deepness to it. You're just supposed to have fun in your process, and there could be meaning in the process itself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I like that because it's find out for yourself.
Yeah.
Rules
and the meaning
are,
is in the process.
I like that a lot because it is you have to find out for yourself like rules are there, but they're guidelines, you know? And again, similar to fundamentals. Yeah, they're there for a reason because it works, you know? Like blue and yellow make green, yeah. But depending on how much blue and how much yellow, that can make a different type of green, but you have to find out for yourself.
And depending on what medium you use, like the way how the colors interact with each other could
Yeah.
be different.
For sure,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure, yeah. No, I love all that. Thank you guys for sharing that. And like one of the ones that I recently remembered for advice was something that Zlatan, because Zlatan's been like for the World Series. One of the things that he said is, "Don't be the one, be the only." You know, going back to
Right.
being yourself. As individuals, yes, we're all artists, but we should all be the only artist that does our style in our way with our meaning. So I like that. That would be my tidbit. Don't be the one, be the only.
Be the only.
Be the only.
I want to also add, maybe just try going outside or like going to a different environment. Because I've seen artists go to museums and paint and draw, or I've seen them go to libraries outside in the forest, you know, like just not staying stagnant in the studio sometimes, just going outside and getting that fresh air
Yeah,
could
oh.
help a lot.
Dude, speaking of fresh air, every now and again when I'm working from home, I feel like I don't leave the house for like 3 days. So I definitely understand that aspect of it. Like, be inspired by nature. Like, just go outside of LA so you can smell real air instead of smog. Although smog can make you see things in a better way sometimes.
Yeah.
Or have an outdoor studio.
Yeah, have an
I take my
outdoor-
dogs
yeah.
out too.
And again, like, because I think we had a Zoom meeting and you were at a park, and I'm like, I want to be at a park doing a Zoom meeting, you know? So having that, stepping outside and then being comfortable outside.
Nice.
That's where all the fun is. And that's where you get the most messages and inspiration anyway. So
Yeah.
and you come across a lot of dope people outside. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Ivan?
I was gonna say, I think being in the ring for 3 years, you kind of learn to see the world in different shades, and that's something that I personally take every day. It's not always perfect, but honestly, you meet different people, you meet everyone, and they teach you something. Even if they're not artists, like you can learn a lot from people,
Oh, yeah.
and I think that's kind of cool that you get to like just meet people and like get to know them. They teach you stuff. You can learn more from that than actually just going to school or even like trying to be perfect. And that's honestly, like I said, amazing.
I like that. Yeah. Because it is true. Like, and again, even in your bio, you're talking about finding imperfection. And that's the best way to live life because we're not perfect. So enjoy those little imperfections. What Bob Ross would say, the happy accidents. It's like, oh yeah, I spilled some paint, but you know what? It actually looks good. I like it. I'll keep it. I'll add to it.
Yeah, like Pollock said, I don't acknowledge the accident.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You just go for it.
yeah, I don't acknowledge it, so it doesn't exist.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. Because it is a state of mind. Because you're the one creating it, and it's the only piece that's ever going to be made until you make the next one. But yeah, it's like any accidents that you think you made, it's like, were they accidents? Because you put them there with purpose through your process. See, you brought it all together. And again, thank you guys for hanging out, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the chat. Again, thank you to the beautiful audience coming out here. And like I said, we are going to have this be available on our podcast. That's going to be available on all major platforms: Apple, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, and all the other ones, as well as a video podcast on our YouTube at laartistpodcast.com. And we'll have all the information for the artists. Again, thank you, artists, for hanging out. I am Mr. David Ruano, and this is the LA Artist Podcast talking about the process. Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you.
Arigato.
Thank you.
It's done.
Thank you, Dave. That was great.
Oh, and can we get a group photo?